Before the banquet, the palace eunuch slipped the answer to the riddle into my hand. Whoever solves it correctly will become the crown prince's concubine. The noble ladies pondered deeply, while I quietly tossed the note into a corner. Not long after, my younger sister happily shouted out the answer. Then came Xiao Jin's low voice. Who told you the answer? 01. The answer is Chinkyu. I recognized this answer. It led me into the Eastern Palace in my previous life, and also into the abyss. I crumpled the note and lightly flicked it into a corner. The movement was subtle, unnoticed by anyone. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my younger stepsister Lin Wanqing pick up the note, then jump up excitedly. It's Chinkyu. The riddle is the longing emperor entrusted his spring heart to the cuckoo. The emperor turned into a bird, the cuckoo cries blood, and what it entrusts is the Chinkyu. The entire table fell silent. The person at the head of the banquet slowly looked up and let out a soft chuckle. Who told you the answer? I found it myself. Lin Wanqing's voice trembled slightly under his gaze. Someone threw the note into the corner, and I thought it was fate, God's will. As Xiao Jin uttered these two words, his gaze turned to me and he slowly walked over. My whole body trembled. In my previous life, having solved the lantern riddle, I got my wish and became the crown princess. On the night of our wedding, when he lifted my veil and saw my face, the loathing in his eyes nearly overflowed. You think I'd just accept my fate after using those despicable tricks, all because of that lantern riddle incident? He held a grudge against me for a lifetime. He believed I was behind the scenes, sabotaging him and stealing Lin Wanqing's position. He hates me. On our wedding night, he slammed the door and left. Throughout the Eastern Palace, everyone knows the crown princess has fallen out of favor. The servants' glances toward me shift from reverence to pity, and from pity to contempt. I have become a laughingstock, locked within these high walls, day and night hearing news of his harmonious life with Lin Wanqing. In the end, even the Dowager Empress said, I misjudged. Until the day I die, he will still be thinking of Lin Wanqing. But in this life, he walked up to me, tilted my chin up, and said, the crown princess has been chosen. We still need a secondary consort. You'll do. 02. I jerked my head to the side, dodging his fingers. My own voice came out hoarse and hurried. Forgive me, Your Highness. My daughter was betrothed in childhood, bound by marriage vows. She truly lacks the fortune to serve Your Highness. Xiao Jin's eyebrows slightly lifted. Betrothal as children, I had no knowledge of this. I bit down hard on my lips, nails digging into the palm of my hand. My daughter. Before the words were finished, a dignified voice came from the corridor. What are you all gathered here for? The Empress has arrived. The imperial procession of the Phoenix carriage stretched on endlessly as Her Majesty the Empress slowly approached. Xiao Jin stepped back half a pace, bowing his head in respect. I knelt on the ground, my knees already numb. I've heard someone has solved the riddle. The Empress smiled at Lin Wanqing, her tone kind and gentle. Such a bright child. Attendants, bring the crown princess's ceremonial. No one mentioned the secondary consort again. In just a few words, the Empress settled the matter, as if what had just happened never occurred. Lin Wanqing was surrounded in the center, her face unable to hide her joy and shyness. She secretly glanced in the direction of Xiao Jin, then quickly looked away, the tips of her ears turning as red as if they might bleed. She had gotten her wish in her previous life. She had not been able to attain the position of crown princess. In this life, she had secured it. I slowly got to my feet and stepped back to the outer edge of the crowd. The night wind blew over me, sending a chill down my back. I suddenly realized my inner shirt had been soaked through with cold sweat. 03. Memories from my previous life surged up like a flood. It was the 3rd month after the grand wedding. Xiao Jin had never looked at me directly, and I accepted that every morning I would go to pay my respects to the Empress, then return to shut myself in the side pavilion, embroidering and copying sutras, living a life as stagnant as a pool of still water. I thought it would continue like this forever until that rainy night. He drank a lot and broke into my bedchamber, soaked to the bone, reeking of alcohol. He stared at me for a long time, then walked over, and the two of us fell onto the couch. His thumb stroked my chin, his voice seductive. Weren't you the one who wanted to be the crown prince's consort? Then do your duty. That night, he seemed determined to make up for all the previous neglect. As dawn approached, he held me in his arms, his chin resting on the curve of my shoulder, his voice barely a whisper, have a child with me. I was stunned for a moment, a lump rose in my chest, a tingling ache swelling up within me. I thought he had finally seen me. I thought those snubs were just his awkward pride. I thought he cared about me in his heart, but just refused to give in. I was fond of him, even more than he could have imagined otherwise. He wouldn't have risked the night banquet by bribing the eunuchs to obtain the answer. 3 years ago, I attended the autumn hunt with my father, and he was there too when my horse bolted in panic. He was the one who saved me at that moment. He held me tightly in his arms, and I heard his deep, low voice, "Don't be afraid, I'll protect you." At that moment, I heard my own thundering heartbeat. The wind stirs, the banner flutters, the heart moves. I turned around, wrapped my arms around his neck, buried my face into his chest, and agreed. He held me a little tighter. I heard his heartbeat, steady and strong at that time. I thought it was the sound of closeness. Later I realized, it was the echo of the abyss. Lin Wanqing cannot bear children. The imperial physicians said her body is too cold, making it difficult to conceive, and she may never be able to have a child. The crown prince needs an heir, so he came to my room. Those gentle touches, those low murmurs. The night I thought he had finally opened his heart, they were all lies. He didn't want me, he wanted my womb. The day the imperial physician confirmed the sign of pregnancy, Xiao Jin came. He left only 4 characters for me. Take good care of yourself. I touched my still flat abdomen and smiled, laughing at my own foolishness from beginning to end. It was a one-woman show. He gave me a piece of candy, and I thought he liked me. The days of pregnancy are very hard to endure. Severe vomiting, throwing up whatever I eat, leaving me skinny as a skeleton. The nurse urges me to eat more, saying I must take care of myself for the little prince's sake. I force myself to eat bite by bite. Swallow, vomit, then eat again. Xiao Jin comes by occasionally. Once, he felt the baby move and paused, looking up at me. His eyes seemed filled with emotion. My heart ached and swelled, and I thought he truly cared for me. Your Highness, do you prefer boys or girls? All right. Hearing these 2 words, I curled my lips into a slight smile. On the day of delivery, it was pouring rain. I was in pain for an entire day and night, with blood flowing incessantly. The nanny ran out crying, shouting for the court physician, and the delivery room was thrown into chaos. I heard someone shouting, "Save the mother or the baby." No one answered, as if the answer had already been tacitly agreed upon. At that moment, I still clung to a faint hope. In the end, it all turned to ashes. The pain, when it reached its peak, left me numb. I remembered that night when he held me and said, "Have a child with me." Back then, I thought it was just a sweet notter. It turns out the time of death has come. Your Highness, please don't close your eyes, someone was shouting, but the voice sounded very distant, as if separated by a layer of water. I saw the pattern of mandarin ducks playing in the water embroidered on the canopy, bright red, truly beautiful to behold. I haven't watched mandarin ducks with him yet. Forget it, I won't watch them in the next life. The crown princess has passed away. That voice pierced through the rain curtain and carried very, very far. I floated in mid-air, watching Xiao Jin rush into the delivery room. His face was as pale as paper, and his robes were covered in rain and mud. He picked me up, his arms trembling. "Lin Wanqing, wake up right now. I forbid you to die. Don't you always listen to me? I command you to live." I wanted to touch his face, but my hand passed right through him. His eyes turned red. A tear fell, splashing onto my face. I never knew he could cry too late. Though the rain outside grew heavier and heavier, as if the sky had cracked open. All I remember is that, at the moment I closed my eyes, I thought, if I have another life, I never want to meet Xiao Jin again. 04 I stood on the corridor outside the banquet hall, the night wind chilling me to the bone. "Miss Lin." I turned around, and Xiao Jin had silently followed me out. He stood in the shadow of the colonnade, half of his face pale in the moonlight. "You said just now that you're already betrothed." He stepped forward, each step landing squarely on my heart. "Who is it?" I took a step back, my back hitting the railing. "Your Majesty. My marriage arrangement was made when I was very young, to the eldest son of the Shen family." I wasn't lying to him. I truly did have a marriage agreement with Shenmoba, but after that, I met Xiao Jin. I declared to my parents that I would marry no one except Xiao Jin. So the family quietly broke off my engagement with Shen Mobai. He lifted the corner of his mouth. "Lin Wanqing, do you really think you can deceive me by mentioning Shen Mobai?" I tightened my fingers, but on my face, I merely curved my lips into a faint smile. Your Highness, I have never dared to deceive you. Master Shen will arrive in the capital in 3 days. If your Highness doubts me, you may confront me directly then. He stared into my eyes, about to speak, when Lin Wanqing hurried over, her skirts tucked up in her hands. Why, Your Highness? The Empress Mother requests Your Highness to return. Xiao Jin finally turned away his gaze, his voice calm. Let's go. When he passed by Lin Wanqing, he paused halfway, gently brushing a fallen blossom from her hair. His movement was as soft as spring breeze. I turned my face away, my eyes slightly stinging. This life, I'll never look at him again. 05. The mansion had received the news early on. The position of Crown Princess that the eldest Miss Lin had been longing for had been taken by the second Miss Lin. Lin Wanqing was kept behind by the Empress for a conversation, while I, having received the imperial grace, left the palace early. No sooner had the carriage come to a halt than the matron by my mother's side lifted the curtain and came forward to greet me, her eyes red-rimmed. Miss, you finally returned. I held on to her hand, and before I could say anything, a raised voice came from the main hall. Oh my, sister is back. Madame Zhao, seated in the guest's place, could not hide the smile on her face. The Crown Princess's golden certification has fallen to our second miss, eldest miss. You must offer your congratulations to your sister, but it's no surprise, really. Eldest miss has never cared for such refined pursuits since childhood, so it's only natural she couldn't solve a lantern riddle. Quite a stroke of luck for our Wanqing. Mother sat in the main seat, her face dark. I walked over, picked up the teacup, and slowly approached concubine Zhao. Madame Zhao is right. My younger half-sister truly deserves congratulations. However, the only reason she became the Crown Prince's consort is because she picked up a discarded note. I wonder how everyone in the capital will laugh if word of this gets out. Madame Zhao's face stiffened. What do you mean by picked up? First miss, that was heaven's will of heaven. I stopped in my tracks and looked down at her. My little sister doesn't even have the skill to solve riddles. The private tutors hired by Lady Zhao's family must have had their silver wasted. Lady Zhao's face turned pale and then flushed, her hands trembling so much she could barely hold the teacup. Lin Wantang, don't think you can act all high and mighty just because you've latched onto the Shen family. What kind of household is the Shen family? Would they want someone who was once rejected by the Crown Prince? Smack! The teacup fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Her mother stood up, her voice resolute. Drag her out of here. Lin Wantang is my legitimate daughter. This is none of your business. The crowd has dispersed, and the hall has fallen silent. Mother turned around and gently touched my face with her hand. WN Tang, what you just said to Lady Zhao. Mother heard it and it broke my heart. You're not the kind of person who'd hold grudges over such things. My nose tingled, and I nearly lost control of my tears. Mother, I'm just worried you and father will be put in a difficult situation. Everyone in the household will think it's my fault that the Crown Prince's consort. The shame will be mine. Silly child. My mother pulled me into her arms. What's face compared to you? All I want is for you to be safe and sound. Leave your father to me. I'll talk to him. Do whatever you want. If you don't want to marry, then don't. If the sky falls, I'll hold it up for you. I buried my face into her shoulder, sniffing hard. Back in my past life, my mother went blind from weeping when I died in the delivery room. This time around, I won't let her grieve for me again. That night, I spread out a sheet of paper under the lamplight, picked up my brush, and wrote a letter to Shen Mobo, to Mr. Shen. May this letter find you well. I, Lin Wantang, have a matter concerning a marriage pact that involves you, one of life and death. I urge you to come to the capital at once for a discussion. Once the letter was sent, I closed my eyes. Xiao Jin, in this lifetime, I never want to have anything to do with you again. 06. The next day, before dawn, the imperial carriage arrived at the mansion gate. Her Majesty the Empress issued an oral decree, summoning the 2 young ladies of the Lin family to the palace for conversation in the hall of Phoenix elegance. The Empress sat at the head, her expression graceful and serene. Yin Qing is such a lovely girl. I find myself growing fonder of her with each passing day. Yesterday's riddle game, she solved it quickly and accurately. Even Jinna couldn't find a single flaw. Lin Wanqing lowered her eyes, her lips gently pursed, appearing gentle and poised. I knelt beside, eyes on my nose and nose on my heart. Footsteps sounded outside the hall. Xiao Jin strode in, followed by several scholars from the Hanlin Academy. Mother, he bowed, his gaze sweeping over Lin Wanqing before landing on me. Pausing for a moment, I couldn't sleep a wink last night, as I kept feeling that the riddle from yesterday was too simple, too unchallenging to truly showcase the true talent of the noble ladies. Therefore, I've devised another one. Since everyone is here today, why don't we try solving it once more? The Empress perked up with interest. What riddle is it? Do tell. Xiao Jin drew out a piece of paper from his sleeve and unfolded it. The riddle is, my heart is like still water in an ancient well. I vow not to stir a single ripple. Guess a word. The hall fell silent for a moment. Lin Wanqing wrinkled her brow, frowning as she pondered deeply. Several noblewomen glanced at one another. Murmuring quietly, I remained seated still. Yet my heart suddenly clenched tight. This lantern riddle was made up by me in my previous life. Not long after I married Xiao Jin, I still harbored a few delusional hopes in my heart. At the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet, the Empress asked the noble ladies of various mansions to come up with riddles for entertainment. So I wrote this one. The answer is Pledge of Love. My heart is like an ancient well of water, undisturbed by ripples. Because my feelings are already settled, nothing can move me anymore. Xiao Jin was sitting at the table, glanced at the riddle, and paused mid-pouring wine. I thought he understood, but he didn't. Can't anyone answer? Xiao Jin's voice pulled me back to reality. Lin Wanqing bit her lip, her forehead beading with fine sweat. I lowered my gaze, pushing back the rising bitterness. Miss Lin, do you have an answer? Xiao Jin called on me directly. I looked up, meeting his gaze. In those eyes, there was curiosity and amusement. I am dull-witted and unable to figure it out. Before the words had even left his lips, he pressed his lips tightly together. The atmosphere inside the hall grew subtly tense. Xiao Jin stared at me for a long time, then suddenly shifted his tone. Since nobody's interested in solving riddles, let's try a different game. Servants, bring the tangyuan. Palace attendants filed in, placing a bowl of tangyuan before each person. 4 round tangyuan floated in the white porcelain bowls, steaming hot. Xiao Jin stood with his hands behind his back, his voice unhurried. One of the 4 tangyuan contains lucky money. Whoever eats it will become my secondary consort. Very fair, entirely up to fate. I let out a faint smile. Fate? Where did that come from? But when I looked up and met his determined gaze, I instantly understood what he had in mind. I picked up the silver chopsticks, picked up a tangyuan, and took a bite. My teeth hit something hard. It was a lucky coin. 07. I stared at Xiao Jin in front of me, determined to swallow the wedding money whole. Xiao Jin also saw through my intention, his fingers clenching tightly, his face turning grim. Just as I hesitated, a calm, soothing voice came from outside the door. Your Highness, this action might not be proper. All eyes turned toward the palace gate. Against the light, a tall, slender figure stepped over the threshold. The newcomer had delicate features and a face as fair as jade. Your servant, Shen Mobai, pays homage to Her Majesty the Empress and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Whispers began to circulate. Shen Mobai, isn't he the eldest son of the Shen family? You don't know, the Shen family's current representative is now the Emperor's favorite. He just returned from the south where he led relief efforts, reportedly saving tens of thousands of lives. Xiao Jin's smile vanished. He looked at Shen Mobai, eyes slightly narrowed. Secretary Shen, weren't you in the Jiangnan region? How did you arrive in the capital so quickly? Shen Mobai straightened up, his gaze landing on me. Your Majesty, I heard my fiancé was being wronged within the palace, so I rushed back without rest. His lips curled slightly. Good thing I made it. He approached and held out his hand to me. WN Tang, let's go home. Xiao Jin's voice turned cold. Shen Mobai, this is the Eastern Palace, not the back garden of the Shen family. Your Highness, I have a prior engagement with Miss Lin, signed in black and white, with full betrothal rights. If your Highness believes I am unworthy of the Lin family, you may argue the matter with me clearly in court, but to bully a defenseless woman here is hardly the act of a gentleman. Shen Mobi bared a calm expression, while Xiao Jin's face darkened. The atmosphere in the hall was tense and charged, with palace attendants lowering their heads, daring not to breathe. Shen Mobi simply walked out, still holding my hand. Xiao Jin's voice echoed behind us, laced with suppressed anger. Lin Wentai, If you step out of this door today, the title of secondary consort will be given to someone else. My footsteps paused for a moment. I did not turn back. 08 As soon as I got onto the carriage, Shun Morbai immediately released my hand. Excuse me, he stepped back slightly. Forgive me for the earlier urgency. I hope you understand, Miss Lin II. I noticed his ears turned red. I never expected the eldest son of the Shun family to have such a naive, innocent side. Before I could say anything, he pulled out a divorce document. Miss Lin II, here is the divorce paper. I took it and unfolded it. The handwriting was neat and elegant, the wording respectful and cautious, with the Shun family's seal already affixed. Although I have a prior engagement with Miss Lin II, I am fully aware that I am unworthy of her. If Miss Lin does not wish to continue, she may leave at any time with this divorce letter, and the Shun family will have no objections. I have clearly stated in the letter that I will assume all responsibility, and it will not affect Miss Lin's reputation. I looked up, my gaze falling upon the green jade pendant at his waist. In my previous life, that night when I died, a man knelt before my body for a long time. He knelt before my bed, his voice choked with sobs, repeating the same sentence over and over. I'm late. At the time, I thought it was an illusion before the gates of the underworld. Now I understand it was no illusion. That was Shun Mobo. I slowly lifted my head, meeting those clear eyes. Chen Morbai, I want to go with you to Jiangnan to relieve the disaster. 09 The air was still for a moment. I had thought he would refuse with some excuse like it's not suitable for a woman to go on relief missions. I'd be safer staying in the capital. But he didn't. Instead, he looked at me seriously and shared his plans. Handling affairs in the capital will take a few more days. Once everything is arranged, I'll take you away. Seeing the surprise in my eyes, he smiled, though I don't know why Miss Lin has such thoughts. Still, Shun respects Miss Lin's judgment. A certain corner of my heart suddenly softened. In my previous life, no one had ever believed in me like this, no matter what I did. Xiao Jin would only think I was playing games, but Shun Morbai asked nothing and just said yes. Then it settled. He lifted the curtain of the carriage, and sunlight fell on the side of his face. 3 days from now, I'll be waiting for you at the city gate, back at the mansion. I tucked the divorce document into the very bottom of my cosmetic box. Mother stared in shock when she heard I wanted to go to Jiangnan. Then tears began to fall heavily one after another. You foolish child, why not stay in the capital where it's safe? What on earth do you want with such a place? Mother, so many people have died in Jiangnan's floods. I have medical skills. I want to do my part to help. What do you mean by doing your part? You're refusing to get married now. Tell mother, did the prince consort mistreat you? I hugged her, pressing my face into the crook of her shoulder. Mother, no one has mistreated me. I've simply come to understand that I don't want to spend my life confined within the inner courtyard. I want to accomplish something meaningful. Mother held me and wept. In the end, she finally nodded. Okay, go ahead. Mother will pack your things, take plenty of silver with you, and don't stint on yourself on the journey. My father was easy to persuade. He merely said, Shun's son is a reliable fellow. I'll rest easy knowing you're with him. The news spread faster than the wind. That night, Lin Wanqing came to my courtyard. She stood at the door, holding a bundle, hesitating for a long while before stepping in. Big sister, she called out, her voice somewhat strained. I heard you're going to Jiangnan to provide disaster relief. I was sitting under the lamp writing a prescription, not even looking up. Yep, why? She walked over and placed the bundle on the table. I mean, why throw away the riddles? Why go to Jiangnan? You're clearly, she bit her lip, her eyes reddening. You clearly like Prince Tai, don't you? I set down my pen and looked up at her. Lin Wanqing stood in the shadow of the light, her fingers twisting a handkerchief, her eyes red-rimmed. In my previous life, I loathed her. I hated how she stole all of Xiao Jin's attention, hated how she turned my marriage into a joke, but later I came to realize, she hadn't done anything after all. Wanqing, I've just made sense of some things. I stood up and walked toward her. Xiao Jin is not someone worth giving your heart completely. Lin Wanqing was taken aback, then gripped her handkerchief tightly. Sister, how can you speak of His Highness like that? He would marry a woman he doesn't love just for an heir, and he would leave you out in the cold for the sake of political balance. You think he loves you, but the only person he has ever loved is himself. Lin Wanqing's face turned pale. Sister, aren't you misunderstanding the prince? I'm not mistaken. I looked into her eyes. Wanqing, I just don't want you to repeat my mistakes. She remained silent for a long time. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Sister, I don't know what you've been through, but I know you wouldn't say these things for no reason. She wiped away her tears and pushed the bundle on the table gently toward me. These are my savings, some silver ingots, plus a few herbal remedies for wounds and insect repellent. You'll need them on the journey. Why you be careful on your way. I opened the bundle to find 20 neatly stacked silver ingots inside. My nose suddenly stung with emotion. I recall the time. In my previous life when I was imprisoned in the cold palace, Lin Wanqing would come to visit me every few days. She would bring food and sit on the steps of the cold palace, talking with me. Back then, I thought she was coming to show off, but later I realized she was genuinely worried about me. Since Xiao Jin did not come, and no one in the palace cared, she was the only one who still remembered me. She even knelt before Xiao Jin and begged him, yet Xiao Jin did not come. On the day I died, she wept more bitterly than anyone else. She said, Sister, I'm sorry, it's my fault that I've hurt you. But she hadn't done anything wrong, she had merely fallen in love with the wrong person. Wanqing, I reached out and embraced her, speaking the words I'd never been able to say in a past life. You've wronged no one. Lin Wanqing trembled uncontrollably in my arms, sobbing, Sister, be careful on your journey. Please write to me when you reach Jiangnan. I'll wait for you to come back. 3 days later, at dawn, I stood at the city gate with my bundle on my back. Shen Mobai led a white horse, followed by a long convoy of disaster relief wagons. I turned my head and looked ahead. Jiangnan, here I come. 10. The convoy left the city, and willow catkins floated beside the official road. Shen Mobai, riding on his horse, said toward the carriage, Miss Lin, just beyond the Tenli Pavilion ahead is the official road station. After changing horses, we'll reach Qing Prefecture by tomorrow night. I lifted the carriage curtain to respond, when suddenly urgent hoofbeats sounded from behind. Dust billowed as a squad of black-armored cavalry thundered toward us from the direction of the city gate. The man leading the charge wore a dark black cloak, his features heavy with a fierce, menacing aura. It's Xiao Jin. He actually followed me out. He shouted my name loudly, Lin Wanchang. Come out for His Majesty. Shen Moba stood in front of Xiao Jin. Your Highness, Miss Lin has a marriage agreement with me, and this journey is an official disaster relief mission approved by the Emperor. It's not proper for your Highness to block the way like this. Not proper. Xiao Jin turned his head to look at him. Chen Mobo, are you going to intimidate me with the imperial decree? He pulled a scroll of bright yellow silk from his sleeve and snapped it open. Then let me show you what this is. An imperial decree. My heart skipped a beat, and I drew back the carriage curtain. Stepping down from the carriage, Xiao Jin's gaze fell upon me, and he recited each word clearly. By heavenly mandate, the Emperor decrees, Lin Wn Tang, daughter of the Lin family's legitimate line, gentle and virtuous, is hereby appointed as the secondary consort of the Crown Prince. The formal investiture ceremony will take place in 3 days, so it is ordered. The wind swept down the official road, rustling the edict. I stared at the bright yellow silk in his hand, suddenly feeling absurd. In my previous life, I had struggled desperately to obtain this very thing. Now, in this life, he had chased after me out of the city just to shove it into my hands. I looked at him, my voice calm. Your Highness, Your Majesty, I cannot accept this imperial decree. Xiao Jin's hand suddenly clenched tightly around the decree. What did you say? I said, I won't accept it. I said every word clearly, without ambiguity. My lady and Master Shen have already had a marriage agreement, with formal ceremonies and written documents. If Your Highness insists on forcibly taking me as your wife, you will be stealing my husband. The memorials from the court's official critics will soon pile up on your desk. How do you think that will look? Xiao Jin's eyes were slightly reddened as he stared at me fiercely. Lin Wantan, what on earth are you trying to do? Is it all because of that night's riddle? Is it because I didn't appoint you as the... Do you think I can't see through you? You clearly knew the answer to the riddle, yet you deliberately threw away the note, giving it to Lin Wanqing instead. What exactly are you trying to accomplish? He stepped toward me, one step at a time, his voice thick with suppressed fury. You weren't like this before the night banquet. The way you looked at me, it wasn't like this at all. I looked up and met Xiao Jin's eyes. Your Highness asks what I want, so I will tell you. I do not wish to be the crown princess, nor the secondary consort. I do not wish to have any ties with your Highness, not in this lifetime, nor in the next. Xiao Jin's face instantly turned pale. You, the prince said. My eyes have changed. I curved my lips into a smile, my eyes growing slightly sore, because I once had feelings for you, your Highness, feelings so strong that I was willing to stake my entire life on a gamble, and I lost that gamble. Lost everything, even my life. I know Xiao Jin has also been reborn. Standing before me is the person he used to be. Xiao Jin, Lin Wentai, the one who once favored you, is already dead, killed in that rainy night. Xiao Jin stood motionless, his lips twitching slightly, yet no words came out. I cast one last glance at him, forcefully suppressing the tears welling up in my eyes. You have your crown prince consort, your splendid future. I have my own path to follow. From now on, bridges belong to bridges, roads to roads. Take this edict back with you. I turned and climbed into the carriage. The curtain fell, separating me from him into two different worlds outside. It was quiet for a long time, then I heard his hoarse voice. Lin Wanchang, you'll regret this. 11. The sound of hoofbeats gradually faded away, and peace returned outside the carriage curtain. Shenmo Babe tapped on the carriage wall. Miss Lin, are you alright? I blinked hard, forcing back the last traces of moisture. Quite good. Shenmobi didn't ask further. The convoy started moving again. The roads in Jiangnan were 10 times harder to travel than I had imagined. Beyond the Huai River, the official road ended, leaving behind endless mud and puddles. The fields on both sides of the path had been thoroughly soaked by the floodwaters. All the crops had died, and most of the thatch huts had collapsed, exposing their black, sooty roof beams. Flood refugees moved northward in groups, their faces pale and gaunt, clad in tattered rags. I saw this kind of scene for the first time. Shen Mobai rode his horse beside the carriage and said in a low voice, Qingju is even worse. After the floodwaters receded, a plague broke out. The imperial court's medicinal supplies haven't arrived yet, but I've already sent people to source them from nearby prefectures. I nodded, my throat tightening. Upon arriving in Qingju, I understood the true meaning of hell on earth. Outside the city walls, several hundred straw huts had been put up, the displaced refugees crammed inside, their coughing rising in endless waves. Every medicine shop in the city had been emptied, not even a single licorice slice could be found. Shenmobo, without stopping to wash or change clothes, went straight to the government office. There he gathered the local officials to take stock of the granaries, register the refugees, and designate locations for kanji kitchens. I changed into coarse cotton clothes and took a few maids and elderly servants to the thatched shed to see the patients. The plague spread faster than I had imagined. On the third day, people in the thatched shed began to develop fevers, vomit, and break out in black spots on their bodies. In my previous life, with nothing to do in the cold palace, I wore out the pages of asterisk supplements to the compendium of Materia Medica asterisk and still remember a few prescriptions for treating seasonal epidemics: honeysuckle, forsythia, isatis root, scutularia. I crouched on the ground, writing out the prescription for the medicine boy so he could look for the herbs in the storeroom, but the storeroom had long been empty. Shen Mobai had people go to a neighboring prefecture that very night to buy medicine. Over 300 li of mountain roads, and 3 horses ran to death along the way. On the night of the 5th day, the medicine finally arrived. Shen Mobai and I sat facing each other in the front courtyard of the Yamen, dividing up the herbs. Atractylodes macrocephala, 3 chien, poria, 2 chien. I muttered the names as my hands kept moving, weighing each ingredient and wrapping it in paper. Shen Mobai sat across from me, also packing medicine in one bag after another. I glanced at him. Take a break for a while. Your eyes are red. He didn't raise his head. You go ahead first. You've been up for 2 nights straight. If you keep this up, you'll collapse too. I said nothing, lowered my head, and kept packing medicine. After a while, he suddenly spoke. Miss Lin, second. Why did you come to Jiangnan? My hand paused mid-motion. I already said I came here to participate in disaster relief. Not just that, is it? I looked up, meeting his gaze, and asked him in return, then why did Minister Shen come here for disaster relief? When Minister Shen first went to Jiangnan, he stayed for over half a year, even missing the New Year's Eve return to the capital. It wasn't just because of his imperial duties, was it? Shun Morbai paused, his hands midway through dividing the medicine. Second Miss Lin, you have sharp eyes. He lowered his head, tying the wrapped medicine with a straw rope, his voice very soft. When I was 15, I followed my father southward and passed through a village after a flood. The bodies floated in the river, and no one had come to collect them. There was a little girl clinging to her mother's clothes by the riverside, crying for her mother to rise. She didn't know her mother was already dead. He swallowed hard as he spoke. I thought to myself at that time, this world shouldn't be like this. I have studied the wisdom of the sages and serve at the monarch's pleasure. If I cannot do something for these people, then what is the point of holding this office? The oil lamp in the courtyard flickered in the wind, its light and shadow flaring and fading across his face. I looked at him, and somewhere in my heart, a corner burned. So where is the second Miss Lin? Why did you want to come? I lowered my head and slowly placed the honeysuckle in my hand into the paper packet. In my past life, I once heard about the famine outside. Back then, I was trapped in a courtyard, unable to go anywhere. I could only hear about the outside world from the elderly maid who brought me meals. She said there were severe floods in Jiangnan, and many people had died. The court's disaster relief funds had been embezzled, medical supplies couldn't be transported, and the people could only wait for death. I kept thinking, if I were out there, if I had medical skills, could I save a few lives, even just one? Chen Mobai quietly watched me. I curled the corner of my mouth and neatly stacked the wrapped medicine. It's not just to escape Xiao Jin, nor is it out of stubbornness. I truly want to do something, just to see if, in this lifetime, I can live the way I want to. Shen Morbai looked at me, the corners of his mouth slowly curving upward. Lin wanting. He looked at me seriously, calling my full name for the first time. You will become the person you want to be. The oil lamp snapped once. I lowered my head and continued wrapping the medicine, my ears slightly warm. 12. The situation in Qingju finally showed signs of improvement on the 37th day. Days passed like this, one after another. In the mornings, I went to the shed area for consultations, while he attended to official duties at the magistrate's office. In the afternoon, I accompanied the herbal apprentice to prepare and distribute medicine, while he went to the countryside to inspect the fields damaged by the disaster. At night, the two of us sat facing each other in the backyard of the office, sorting medicine and recording accounts. We often stayed up until the third watch of the night. When tired, we'd doze off briefly on the desk, then wake up and continue working. I thought days like this would continue until the disaster was completely over. Then, one evening, I had just returned from the shelter area, my clothes covered in herbal dregs, when the sound of horse hooves suddenly came from the courtyard gate. I looked up and saw a dark figure dismount from the horse. It was Xiao Jin. His gaze fell on me, and he frowned. Lin wanting, is this the state you've gotten yourself into? Why has your highness come? He strode over, his gaze sweeping past me and glancing inside. By imperial decree, I am here to inspect the disaster relief efforts in Jiangnan. Where is Shen Morbai? Master Shen is in council at the Yamen. If your highness has business with him, you may go there. And you, what are you doing? He reached out and pinched my wrist, pulling me closer. Look at your hands, look at your clothes. Lin Wanchang, you've forsaken wealth and honor, and come to a place like this to do menial labor. I pulled free from his grasp and took a step backward. Your highness may consider this menial labor, but I do not. Don't you feel it? His voice rose slightly. You lived in a grand mansion in the capital, feasted on delicacies, and were attended by a retinue whenever you stepped out. Look at you now, sheltering in a dilapidated government office, eating coarse grain and bitter vegetables, with not even a single maid to serve you. As he grew more agitated, he pulled a piece of paper from his sleeve and slapped it down in front of me. You think I don't know? I've already read the divorce papers you and Shen Morbai signed. The piece of paper fluttered to the ground. It was the divorce letter Shen Morbai had given me, stamped with the Shen family seal, clearly stating, may each find their own joy, and part with ease. You two have never had a real marriage. Xiao Jin's eyes flashed with both fury and pain. You're just trying to run away from me, using him as a shield. Lin wanting, is it worth it to stay in a place like this and endure hardship with someone you don't love? I didn't pick up that divorce paper. I looked up into Xiao Jin's eyes. Your Highness says I don't love Shen Mubai. Are you saying you do love him? Xiao Jin let out a cold laugh. How long have you known him? How many times have you met? Lin Wantong. You can't even be bothered to come up with a decent excuse when you're lying to me. Who says I don't love him? I interrupted him and saw Shen Mubai not far away. He didn't know how long he had been standing there, or how much he had heard. I walked over to him and stood in front of him, standing on tiptoes. I hooked my arms around his neck and kissed him. His lips were cool, carrying the breath of the evening breeze. Papers rustled and scattered all over the floor. I turned around and looked at Xiao Jin. His jaw was set tight, veins bulging in his neck. Does your Highness see clearly now? I heard my own voice, calm and resolute. This daughter of your minister did not come here to endure hardship, but to be with the one she loves, doing what she desires. Not at all. The wind blew through the courtyard, rustling the documents. Xiao Jin stood in place for a long time, then smiled slightly. Lin Wantan, I'm curious to see how much longer you can hold on. The sound of hoofbeats gradually faded into the distance at the courtyard entrance. Only I and Shen Mohite remained. He stood in the twilight, his ears still red, his voice hoarse as he asked me, Lin Wanchang, what you just said, was it just a temporary arrangement, or? He didn't finish speaking, his Adam's apple bobbing slightly. I curved my lips into a smile and reached out to touch his burning earlobe. Shen Mohbai, do I really seem like someone who would fake something like this? I looked at him with a smile. Lord Shen, I'm quite fond of you. 13. Xiao Jin didn't leave immediately. He slipped in through a side gate and watched from afar the two people in the courtyard. The two people standing beneath the osmanthus tree looked remarkably well matched. Hearing those words of affection, an odd sensation surged within him. Though these sweet nothings had long since bored him in his previous life, why did they now sound so grating? For a fleeting moment, he even felt like rushing forward and killing Shen Mohbai, bind Lin Wantang and bring her back to the palace, imprisoning her for life. He had planned to do exactly that. But during the days she stayed, he saw another Lin Wantang, a Lin Wantang he had never seen before, radiant, confident, and brilliantly bright. She was no longer the girl who had foolishly waited for him in the cold palace, her face bare of makeup. She handed out porridge and medicine in a soup kitchen. Shining more brilliantly than she ever had in the capital city, she seemed to have truly become herself. Yet he had lost her. No, he hadn't lost her yet. How could she possibly forget him so easily after 2 lifetimes bound together? Thinking this, he confidently walked in front of her. WN Tang, let me help you. The next second, her cold voice rang out, not needed. Xiao Jin's expression stiffened for a moment, then he laughed at himself in sudden realization. Right? How could she forgive him so easily after all the wrongs he had done in his past life? He should take some action first and give her a way to reconcile. So he continued to follow Lin Wantang, following her as she gave out porridge, treated illnesses, and saved lives. Watching her return to a room with Chen Mohbai, he finally couldn't hold back and called out to her, Lin Wanta, why go to such lengths to put on a show? She simply smiled, then leaned up and gently kissed the young man beside her, whose face was flushed red. Nighttime is precious, Your Highness. You should return to the capital sooner rather than later. Matters in Jiangnan need not concern you. As soon as the words were spoken, Lin Wentai led the person into the house. 14. Upon entering the room, I couldn't help but laugh at Shen Mohbai's flushed face. I didn't expect Lord Shen to be so innocent. Can't even handle a kiss on the cheek. He didn't say a word, just turned his head away to avoid my approaching kiss. Don't mess around, there are still people outside. A very faint sound came from outside the window, as if someone had stepped on a dry branch. The curtain fell, and the candle was blown out by the wind. In the darkness, only each other's breaths and heartbeats remained. I looked up at Shen Mobo. Lord Shen, would you be willing to put on a little show with me? The rustle of clothes was especially clear in the silent night, occasionally punctuated by a low gasp. Someone kicked the bamboo hard, startling all the birds into flight. I don't know how long it took. The figure standing by the window at last vanished. I looked up, meeting Shen Mohbai's flushed face. His voice was extremely hoarse. WN Tang, could you please step out for a moment? I curled my lips. What if I say no? 15. The next morning, Xiao Jin burst into my courtyard. His eyes were red, his voice hoarse to the point of being almost inaudible. Lin Wantong, last night, did you really? What is Your Highness referring to? You know exactly what I'm asking." He suddenly seized my wrist, with such force it felt like he was trying to crush the bones. Did you really go with Shun Mobai?" "Yes." I looked up, meeting his gaze, my voice calm. "Everything that should have been done, and everything that shouldn't have been, was done. Are you satisfied, Your Highness?" Xiao Jin's face instantly drained of all color. He seemed to lose all his strength, stepping back half a pace. "You lied to me. You said before that you would only marry me. That was from a past life." I cut him off, pulling my wrist free. "Your Highness, I remember every word you said and every act you did in your past life. Shall I recount them one by one for you?" Xiao Jin's facial expression grew somewhat grim, and I continued. "On the night of our wedding, you tore off the veil and walked away without a glance. For 3 months, you never set foot in my chamber. That night you came to my room, you were drunk, and you held me, saying, 'Have a child for me.' I thought it was tender words, but later I realized it was my death sentence. The night I gave birth, it was pouring with rain. I couldn't stop bleeding. When the nurse asked whether to save the mother or the child, no one answered. I paused, swallowing back the bitter tears rising in my throat. Your Highness, do you know what it feels like to lie dying in childbirth, bleeding to death? Xiao Jin's eyes turned red. Wen Tang, I came after. By the time you arrived, I was already dead. What's the point of saying these things now, standing in front of me? What good does it do me to hear them? His voice broke. I was reborn too. After you died in my previous life, I finally realized, you were in my heart all along. I looked at your body, and only then did I understand. I've never loved your younger sister. I've always loved you. He reached out, his hand trembling as if trying to touch my face. I turned my head away to dodge. Xiao Jin, do you know what my last thought was before I died? I was thinking, if there is a next life, I never want to meet you again. His hand froze midair, his entire body as if nailed to the spot. After a long silence, he spoke in a hoarse voice. "Wen Tang, I was wrong. Can you please come back?" I looked at him, the one I had once hated and resented, yet now, there were no ripples in my heart. "Xiao Jin, we can't go back. I've died once already. The Lin Wantang who cried for you, laughed for you, and imprisoned herself in the cold palace, that person no longer exists. The person you see now has her own path to walk, things she wants to do, and someone she wants to love. That person is not you." He looked at me and forced a bitter smile. "Wen Tang, shall I return the life I owe you?" Before I could react, he shoved the short knife into my hand and plunged it straight into his own heart. "Xiao Jin, are you mad?" He hadn't advanced any further when Shen Mohite kicked him to the ground. A eunuch rushed over from a distance. Your Highness," before closing his eyes, Xiao Jin looked at me and said his final words, "Wanting, in this lifetime, have you ever loved me, even a little?" I looked at him and said coldly, "Never." 16 After Xiao Jin was taken away, I stood there for a long time. Shen Mobai walked over and held me, offering silent comfort. To be honest, I wasn't sad. Whether he lived or died had nothing to do with me anymore. It was just ironic. At the very end, he still had to put on such a tragic show for me. After a long while, Shen Mobai whispered softly in my ear, "Wanting, were those things you just said about your past life real?" I looked into his eyes. "Chen Moba, do you believe people have past and present lives?" He fell silent for a moment, then nodded. "I dreamt that in my previous life, you knelt beside my bed on my deathbed, saying you had come too late, regretting why you hadn't returned a few days earlier, regretting why you hadn't stood by my side during my hardest times. In the dream, you had feelings for me, even beyond dreams." He took up my words, hugging me tightly. "This life won't repeat the past mistakes. Wherever you go in this life, I'll be by your side. If you want to aid in disaster relief, I'll go with you. If you want to heal the sick and save lives, I'll carry your medicine bag for you. No matter how far you wish to go, I'll follow." I buried my face in his chest and heard his heartbeat, steady and strong. "Shen Mobai, yeah, the disaster situation in Qingju is almost under control. Where to next?" He looked down at me, his eyes bright. "Huainan has also been struck by floods. The Imperial Relief Funds haven't been allocated yet, so I plan to take some medicine and grain supplies there first." "All right, I'll go with you." In the evening, I packed my belongings and stood at the gate of Qingju City. Chen Mobai was leading his white horse, with an entire convoy ready to depart behind him. The sunset painted the horizon in golden red, and a breeze blew in, carrying the scent of freshly turned earth from the fields. Chen Morbai reached out his hand toward me. Lin Wanchang, are you ready? I reached out and took his hand, curving my lips into a smile. Let's go. I lifted the carriage curtain and looked back. The city gate of Qingju grew smaller and smaller, until it became a tiny dot, vanishing into the twilight. The road ahead was still long, the floods in Huainan, the droughts in the northwest, the people in need of help, the lives waiting to be saved. I used to be trapped in a small world, believing it was the entirety of life. Now I know the world is vast. So vast that it can hold all kindness and hope. The wind slips through the gaps in the car curtains, carrying the warmth of early summer. I lean against the car wall, eyes closed, a smile playing on my lips. This lifetime's journey has only just begun. End of complete story. Now begins the second story. My mother was a gentle, delicate coquette who clung to a stubborn marquis with a trembling heart. But Marquise, who was not an easy person to deal with, she had never tolerated a mistress. The marquis, however, was very stubborn. He insisted on bringing my mother and me back to the residence, claiming she would not make things difficult for us. Yet just as we stepped through the door, the marquis's wife came out wielding a knife, vowing to chop us into pieces. I crouched beside my future brother, poking him curiously. Why are you crying over the hairpin? Has your loved one rejected you? He stubbornly argued. You don't understand. I've calculated it. Her destiny lines and personality don't suit Jade. Lady who slammed her knife down, a miracle healer. He can even cure the mute. On the 7th day of being homeless, my beautiful mother clung to Marquis Ju, calling him Big Brother. Sweetly one after another, learning that we had nowhere to go, Marquis Ju immediately fell over himself to bring us back to his residence. My mother hesitated. But I've heard that your sister has a bad temper. She'll draw her blade at the slightest disagreement. Lord Ju let out a disapproving sigh. We've been husband and wife for over 10 years. I don't believe she'd actually kill me. So go ahead and come with me without worry. That same day, my mother and I followed him into the unknown. To us, the servants must have said something, for the lady of the manor suddenly rushed out, brandishing a cleaver. Damn it, you dared to have a mistress behind my back, and even have an 8-year-old daughter. I'll chop you to pieces. She was furious and intimidating. Ju, the marquis, was so frightened he turned and ran. Wrong understanding, madam. The daughter of Madame Su is skilled in medicine. I brought them here to treat our son. My mother was stunned. She suddenly slapped her forehead and muttered to me. I was wondering why, every time I pretended to be pitiful and poured out my misery to the Lord, he kept asking how you'd cured me. It wasn't that he was attracted to your mother, it was your poisonous tongue he was after all along. I've heard my mother say that Master Ju's son, Ju Jin, is 18 years old this year, talented and handsome, yet heartbroken, suffering from selective mutism. He loses appetite and can't sleep, silently shedding tears all day long. He's so much like my mother back then. Back then, my father was still alive, and my mother would always coquettishly call him older brother, fluttering her eyelashes in a delicate, helpless way. I grew up feeling loved and cherished. Then my father fell for a tea-selling woman, and my mother's coquettish behavior turned into scheming rivalry. She cried every day, hugging me tightly. Your father hasn't visited my courtyard in over a month. Last night I even dreamed of him. I blinked. You're sleep paralyzed. Mom, let me call a Taoist priest for you. She paused, slightly loosening her grip on me. You don't understand. Dreaming of him means he still has me in his heart. Your father promised he'd stay with me even in the next life. I blurted out. Even 10 lifetimes of grudges can be repaid, but he really hates you. If your father really wanted to protect you, why isn't the guard dog in our courtyard him? Mother fell silent, but she couldn't let go, still harboring hopes for my father. From time to time, Dao, your father just made eye contact with me today. The paper person can't have its eyes painted, it's haunted. Mother, but the way he looks at me is different from the way he looks at others, seeing others as people, seeing you as an easy fool. I pleaded with her. Mother, don't suck back into your mouth the phlegm you've already spit out and keep savoring it repeatedly. Salty, sticky, nauseating. She gagged. Perhaps thinking of her father made her gag again from then on. Every time she thought of her father, she felt nauseous, feeling sick to her stomach. She didn't want to think anymore, gently pinching my cheeks. Su Dao, if you weren't my real daughter, I'd definitely strangle this poisonous-tongued demon child. I licked my lips, didn't get poisoned. I'm my mother's little darling. Later, my father died completely, and my mother was forced to leave home with me, but she didn't know how to do anything. She couldn't afford to raise me. Reluctantly, I had to look for another family. I thought Lord Ju would become my new father, but it turned out he wanted me to treat Ju Jin's illness. Ah, my beautiful and innocent mother. Why are you believing in men again too? Lady who refused to listen to Lord Ju's explanation, firmly believing my mother was a concubine and I was a bastard. After chasing Lord Ju, they turned their attention to my mother. Filthy slut, I'll chop you to bits. Now it was my mother's turn to run, crying and sobbing. Big brother Ju, save me. Ju, the Marquis, was still stubborn. Don't be afraid, I'm here. My wife would never dare to cut you. What good was that worth? Lady who directly chased after him as well. Chaos erupted. I quietly hid myself, not wanting to cause them any trouble. Unexpectedly, I spotted a young boy standing under the corridor holding a jade hairpin of a woman. Her eyes were red. The melancholy look on her face resembled my late mother so much. Unable to resist, I stepped closer. Brother, why are you crying over this hairpin? Has your beloved rejected you? He turned his head but couldn't find anyone. Lowering his eyes, he finally saw me, glaring at me. Not a single word spoken, yet filled with reproach. I scratched my head. Sorry, big brother. I poked your pride. She probably isn't against jewelry, she just doesn't like you. The young man took a deep breath. He hadn't spoken for a long time. His voice was hoarse. You don't understand. I had someone check. Her birth chart and personality simply aren't compatible with Jade. Ju, whose footsteps halted abruptly. Wait, where's that man's voice from? You've secretly been meeting a handsome young lover on the side, mother kindly reminded. Well, he might be your son. Ju Jin. Thud. Lady who threw down the knife and stared straight at me. Master physician, you can even cure a mute. 3. Lady who believed I was truly the little famed physician. She no longer held the knife, nor was she agitated. Hold my hand tightly. Auntie, you must help me heal Jin. It's all my fault. I insisted on blocking him from being with Liu Ruyan, and now I've caused him harm. The Liu Ruyan mentioned by Lady who was Ju Jin's beloved. Liu Ruyan was unpopular in her family and a concubine's daughter, living in poverty. She often turned to Ju Jin for money to spend. Lady who thought she was only attracted to the Hu family's status, not truly fond of Ju Jin, and thus did everything in her power to block their relationship. But Ju Jin was as stubborn as his father, determined to marry no one but Liu Ruyan. He even secretly went to propose, only to be told by Liu Ruyan, I only consider you a friend. Within a few days, she became engaged to someone else. Ju Jin was deeply shaken and fell seriously ill. She lost the ability to speak, and became listless and weak. Lady who sighed. If I had known A Jin would fall so ill, I shouldn't have stopped you. He's completely obsessed with Liu Ruyan now. I couldn't hold my tongue. Oh, so you're a brainworm, must need some deworming medicine. Ju Jin instantly glared at me. His thin lips trembled, speechless. With a heavy huff, Wu Neng walked away. Lord Ju and Lady Ju were both extremely excited. The sun has reacted again. So Madame Su's words weren't false. Your daughter truly can cure illnesses. Relax and stay here as long as you like. Everything will be on us. But won't your family back home agree with you living out here? Asked about this painful topic, my mother's eyelashes fluttered faintly. I spoke quietly on her behalf. They're all gone. My mother has no relatives. As for father, the moment he betrayed mother, he became a dead man in my heart. Lady who was stunned, her eyes filling with pity. Lord Ju became excited again, rapidly pulling out banknotes and stuffing them into my hands. The child is holding flowers. From now on, treat this place as home. I don't believe you two can spend the Marquis's mansion into poverty. My mother was flattered. This won't do, it's too much, it's for the child, don't refuse. In the end, I received 10,000 taels and became a relative of the Marquis's mansion. Aunt Ju and Uncle Ju took my mother as their adopted younger sister and arranged for us to live in the largest courtyard. After closing the bedroom door, my mother instructed me, use the same method you used to poison your mother, apply it to Ju Jin. Sister and brother-in-law are good people. Even though we lied, as long as it cures the illness, it's not really deception. Nodding slowly, I pretended to understand. I understand. Just comfort your brother as much as you can. At dinner that night, only Aunt Ju and Uncle Ju were in the dining hall. Ju Jin had no appetite and ate very little. Just like my mother, every time he thinks of his father, he refuses to eat. And I always have to bring his food over and feed him, so I carried the meal over to Ju Jin. He was standing on the rooftop, gazing into the distance. "Brother, what are you doing?" He ignored me. I asked curiously, "You checking where your beloved is?" Ju Jin finally spoke, his voice barely restrained. "I just want my life to matter." After saying that, he fell silent again, lost in sorrow. "Reading books makes all the difference. You speak so eloquently. I can't even follow." I wore an expression full of jealousy, scrambling up the ladder quickly. "Brother, I'll accompany you. I want to speak with power and conviction too." Ju Jin stared at me, bewildered. I had already opened my arms, just like him. "Idiot. This is called jumping off a building." "What the? Why didn't you say so earlier?" For Ju Jin didn't jump. Startled by me, he nearly carried me down, serious and solemn. "You mustn't imitate me. Dying is a terrible thing. You're still young. You must live well. Do you understand?" I didn't get it. "But brother, you're only 10 years older than me. Why would you want to die?" He lowered his eyes, his voice softening. "Because my vermilion beauty no longer wants me. You'll understand when you have a scarlet bead of your own." I might never have a cinnabar mole in my lifetime, but I do often see the characters cinnabar and mole separately. I stared at him and smiled wide. "Sand mole." Ju Jin got annoyed by me again, saying, "Is your mouth my mother's kitchen knife? Can't you ever say anything nice?" "My Liu Ruxian is different from others." I thought he was the foolish one. "Those who look like others are ordinary demons. Better have a daoist exorcise them." He swallowed hard, still stubbornly arguing with me. "Liu Ruxian is unique. She even said her heart belongs to me alone now. It means she's been with other people before. Anyway, I have my own plans. Don't interfere." "Then why is she marrying someone else?" Ju Jin clutched her chest, her eyes glistening with tears. I grabbed a piece of chicken and shoved it straight into his open mouth. "My mother cries to me every few days. My ears are already sore from it. I don't want to hear anyone else cry anymore. Keep crying, and all your good fortune will be cried away. You." As soon as he opened his mouth, I kept stuffing food into it, handful after handful. Words stuck in his throat. Ju Jin got so frustrated he chewed furiously. Swallowing with effort, I kept feeding him. "Hey, don't even think about me." After stuffing a huge bowl of rice into my belly, Ju Jin was too full to me anymore and started belching as he went looking for digestive medicine. I faintly heard someone muttering, "Demon child, demon child again." Such a big person still wanting a head rub, so embarrassing. Aunt Ju was utterly delighted when she learned that Ju Jin had taken digestive medicine, grinning from ear to ear. "My son is finally willing to eat." Right then and there, she slipped her large gold bracelet onto my wrist. "Dao Dao, you just focus on treating your cousin. Don't you worry about your mother. I promise to make sure she has a wonderful time every day." The next day, mother basking in the sun in the courtyard was suddenly yanked by Aunt Ju by the back of her collar toward the accounting office. "Starting today, you'll learn bookkeeping with me. Don't go bothering Dao Dao while she's being treated." My mother blinked, her eyes clear and bewildered. "Ha, I'm already a mother. Why do I need to study? Talk sense. Without a skill, how can you ever be your daughter's pillar of support?" The mother was dazedly dragged away. As for me, because I successfully fed her yesterday, Uncle Ju hopes that I can go to the academy to deliver lunch to Ju Jin. Liu Ruyan studies at the academy in order to see her every day. Ju Jin goes to the academy daily even when feeling unwell. She really takes after my mother. In the past, just to see my father, she would wait outside his mansion regardless of wind or rain. And what happened? My father had his arms around a tea-selling girl, whispering sweet words, while she held me and wiped away tears until late at night. But Liu Ruyan's fiancé was not at the academy. Ju Jin, conveniently seated right behind her, secretly watched her. This couldn't be allowed. The more he looked, the more painful it became. I took off the lapis lazuli beads from my body and leaned against the window. I waved the beads around in the sunlight, shining them toward Ju Jin. Suddenly, a flash of light hit my eyes, causing him to instinctively turn his head. Seeing me, he instantly widened his eyes, nudged my chin forward, signaling me to go. "No, I promised Auntie I'd cure him." As soon as he looked at Liu Ruyan, I waved the beads in front of him. "What are you staring at?" Look at the master. The light flickered back and forth, and suddenly, smoke started rising from Ju-jin's collar. A classmate beside him caught the smell and looked up, letting out a startled scream. Set on fire, he's on fire, Ju-jin is burning. The master ahead suddenly became furious. Ridiculous. What nonsense is this? Setting fire in the academy. Quickly bring water. My student is on fire. 5. A flurry of chaos. The small flame on Ju-jin's body was extinguished. The teacher dismissed class early, sending the frightened students home to rest. Everyone was discussing why the fire had started. I clutched the glass beads guiltily and reluctantly shuffled over to Ju-jin. Sorry, big brother. The fire was because of me. The moment the words left my mouth, Ju-jin picked me up, his eyes brighter than ever before, and he actually spoke up on his own. Thank you, Peachy. Me, did I burn his brain? I thought you were like my mother, dislike me for missing Liu Ruyan. I never expected you to help me like this. Thanks to your trick. Liu Ruyan finally spoke to me again. She hasn't talked to me since she became engaged. She was just worried about me earlier. This proves she has feelings for me. He suddenly asked me, how about you come with me to kneel and beg Liu Ruyan? 2 people showing sincere effort might just convince her to change her mind and marry me. Me, Ju-jin's excitement scared me. It seemed I had no choice but to use that move. Back in the day, my mother endured the nausea of relishing phlegm, hoping my father would turn back and love her. But after I did that thing, my mother lost all hope completely. After returning to the mansion, I prepared the things and went to Ju-jin's courtyard, smiling sweetly and obediently. 6. Brother, I have a way to find out whether you and Liu Ruyan truly have a fated connection, and whether she can marry you. I placed the dish I was holding onto the table. It's a folk method. Shredded ginger and shredded potatoes. Just eat them. If you manage to find the potato shreds, it means you're destined to be together and can get married. But if you spit out the ginger shreds, it shows lack of sincerity. Then heaven won't reveal the truth to you. Ju-jin's breath hitched slightly. She actually believed my nonsense. She immediately picked up a chopstickful, her brows furrowing into a deep crease from the spiciness. Yet she didn't spit it out, gritting her teeth. She swallowed it and continued to pick up the next strand. No wonder stories say people entangled in love are easily deceived. So naive, I sat quietly by, watching Ju-jin eat one after another, from anticipation to disappointment, then back to anticipation again, over and over. By the time this huge bowl of vegetables was nearly finished, he was so that tears and snot streamed down, his mouth full of the sharp, spicy taste of ginger. Unable to tell whether it was from the spiciness or heartache, his voice trembled. Why can't I ever taste shredded potatoes? Does that mean my fate with Liu Ruyan is nothing at all? Nonsense, because I didn't put in a single shred of potato, only ginger, 12 strands of minced ginger, all in a row. Mother used to say she ate 7 and finally became calm, giving up any hope that my father would change his mind. It's numbing and extremely spicy. Ju-jin was crying bitterly, so I tactfully slipped out, leaving him alone to release his emotions. I happened to run into Uncle Ju. Hearing the whimpering sounds coming from the house, he couldn't help asking me, "What's wrong with your cousin?" I answered obediently, "It's the spicy ginger. Since the seasons are changing, he wanted to ward off the cold." Uncle Ju didn't suspect a thing. Patting my head, he said, "Dao Dao, you're amazing. You got your cousin, who's been avoiding food, to eat so quickly. You should go back and check on your mother. She's not doing well." Something happened to my mother. Ran back to the courtyard quickly. My beautiful mother has grown haggard, weakly leaning on the sleeping couch, sobbing quietly. "Dao Dao, your aunt is a true living Yama. I was just being polite when I said I'm so envious of Auntie's skill at counting. Unlike me, who can never learn no matter how hard I try, she made me study from morning till night. I didn't want to anymore, but she wouldn't let me leave, even hit my palms." Mother helplessly raised both her hands, looking downcast. She used to be a noble lady, and after her family fell into decline, she married my father and spent her whole life enjoying comfort without ever working or suffering hardship. Nowadays, learning to keep accounts is indeed difficult for her. I comforted Mother, "If you don't want to learn, then don't. Later, I'll find you a rich new stepfather." Even though as a mother with children, you can only be a concubine and of lower status, you don't have to worry about someone taking your place as the first wife. Then I'd better keep learning. Not wanting to go through the experience of vying for favor again. Mother fell back onto the couch and wailed helplessly. The next day, she was dragged away by Aunt Ju again. Ju Jin, heartbroken by Jiang Sai, didn't even want to go to the academy anymore, feeling utterly dejected. Perhaps he talked the most with me. He only opened up to me. I still remember how I first saw Liu Ruyan. She was standing in the sunlight, as if glowing herself. My sputum, when spit on the ground, can glow under sunlight too. Ju Jin was disgusted by me. After a long silence, he found himself reliving the sweet moments he'd once shared with Liu Ruyan. She said she'd never leave me in this lifetime. I couldn't help but ask, does she have no hands or feet? Ju Jin was infuriated. Liu Ruyan also said she likes me. Only dogs eat feces. Brother, are you desperately searching for proof that she loves you? I felt a bit sorry for him. So heartbreaking. My gaze was too obvious, piercing through Ju Jin until he broke down, so he just hid inside the room and wouldn't come out. But I have to bring him food. The door was locked from the inside. Can't get in. Hey, I'll climb through the window. Brother, time to eat. Ju Jin stared darkly at me from the chair. After a long silence, he finally muttered out, Su Dao Dao, I need my own space. Though I didn't understand, I played along. I like space too. He let out a long sigh. Ju Jin lowered his head, clearly helpless. I can eat by myself. Don't feed me with your hands again, that's not graceful. But grabbing with my hands lets me eat more at once, and no one can snatch it from me. I learned that from Grandpa Beggar when I wandered with Mother before. He fell silent, yet this silence was unlike any before. In his eyes, there was now a hint of pity. Just like Auntie and Uncle 7, Ju Jin changed. He started buying me pearl hairpins and paper kites, giving me pocket money, and treating me kindly like an older brother. He even taught me to get used to using chopsticks again. No one will fight you for it here. Eat slowly. After saying that, he picked up his chopsticks and started eating on his own, so I didn't have to force feed him anymore. Although Ju Jin still looked melancholy, he was able to eat normally again. Occasionally, when Uncle Ju and Aunt Ju spoke to him, he would respond. Aunt Ju excitedly pressed a jade hairpin and fine silks and satins into my hands. Take these, Dao Dao, you're the great hero of our family. You deserve all of this. Uncle Ju was more direct than Aunt Ju. He casually gave me a large gold brick. It was so heavy that my hands ached. Uncle, I can't carry this. It's just 2 gold bricks. How could you not be able to carry them? You have to believe in yourself. Uncle Ju argued with me as he placed another brick into my arms. My arms ached from the weight of the gold bricks. What a delightful trouble to have. I can't wait to share my latest treasure with Mama. Mama, from now on, I'll be the one supporting you. Mama stared blankly for a moment, then suddenly stood up. Stay here quietly. I'm going to find your sister to keep learning accounting. Mama can't let such a little one bear the responsibility of supporting the family. Seeing my mother rushing out energetically, I felt truly relieved. Mother really learned a lot from the Ju family. My aunt certainly didn't deceive me, entrusting Mother to her. I'm at peace. Only on the day when Ju Jin's health began to improve, Liu Ruyan had arrived at the Hu mansion. She was naturally graceful, and with tears welling in her eyes, she was even more endearing. Jin, I'm getting married by the end of the month. But you know, my parents have never liked me. They disapproved of me simply because I'm a girl. They won't provide me with a dowry, nor will they accompany me to my husband's home. Can you act as my brother and prepare my dowry and see me off on my wedding day? Ju Jin's lips were trembling. It wasn't from sadness, it was because she remembered that big basin of shredded ginger that she couldn't finish, and her mouth felt numb from the spiciness again. For a long time, she couldn't speak. Liu Ruyan grew anxious. Are you going to help or not? I couldn't help myself and poked my head out. Don't you have a fiancé? Why not have his family escort you for the wedding instead of eyeing my brother's money? She said matter-of-factly. Once I marry into that family, that's my home and my money. Why should I spend my own on my wedding? Besides, isn't Ju Jin willing to spend money on me? Then why wouldn't I use it? I didn't force him, nor did I lie about liking him. If he's willing to spend, naturally I'll take what's offered. Thinking I was like her, a mistress's daughter from the Marquis's mansion, Liu Ruyan added a few more words. Little sister, you're still young and don't understand. Family wealth is always prepared for sons. A mistress's daughter who wants a good life must climb up on her own. Only then will others dare not bully her, especially when it comes to choosing a man. You must have money, but don't be too easygoing. Today he breathes, tomorrow he might breathe on you. Also, you can't find someone who stands on the ground. If they dare stand on the ground today, they'll dare stand on your head tomorrow." My eyes widened. This was the first time I'd met someone even more combative than me. "Then what kind did you find?" She was utterly delighted. "The paralyzed zombie, yes, the only son of Lee family. Beijing's biggest cloth merchant, who's been bedridden for years. If I marry him, as long as I outlive him, all the family fortune will be mine, and I don't have to worry about him having mistresses, unlike marrying your older brother, where I'd be out of my league, suffer mistreatment, and constantly worry about him losing interest. This is much simpler." I actually found her argument reasonable. Feeling is just one side willing to hit and the other willing to be hit. Ju Jin is willing to. She's not stupid, there's no reason not to take it what she wants. She's always been clear about, but hearts are biased. "I'm standing on my brother's side," Ju Jin finally spoke, on the verge of breaking down. "Yang Yang, next time you're talking about me behind my back, could you at least consider that I'm actually standing right here?" The smile on Liu Ruyan's face vanished instantly. 8. Ju Jin ultimately didn't help Liu Ruyan this time. She refused her for the first time. Liu Ruyan didn't press further. She wiped away her tears and left with clear intent. It only made Ju Jin more despondent. Returning to his room, he took out the jade hairpin he had never given away, his eyes glistening with moisture. "So she never considered me as a candidate for her husband. What exactly did she take me for?" I opened my mouth and said, "Maybe it's leftover food or cold dishes. I'm hungry, so I'll come find you. Just heat it up whenever I remember." Ju Jin's fingers, gripping the jade hairpin, had turned white. He gave a self-deprecating laugh. "Tell me, will it only be possible for me and Liu Ruyan to appear together in a dream? After I'm dead, she'll wake up immediately when she sees you. Ghosts come to collect debts." Ju Jin could no more, no longer sad, snatching a pastry from the table. He stuffed it into my mouth. Adults are so strange, they never like to hear the truth, but I'm genuinely worried that Ju Jin might secretly do something foolish behind my back to stop him from overthinking. I decided to distract him by clinging to him even more relentlessly every day. "Brother, stop thinking about the woman you can't have. Come fly this paper kite with me." "Brother, my uncle gave me a gold miniature mountain, but I can't lift it. Could you please help me?" "Brother, don't be sad. How about we try stir-frying shredded potatoes with ginger strips again?" Ju Jin kept waving his hands. He'd rather accept that he and Liu Ruyan were destined to be apart than endure another round of ginger shreds. His life soon became consumed by my affairs, and he clenched his teeth in silent indignation. "If it weren't for my parents liking you, I'd never accept a troublesome younger sister who makes me feed her 3 meals a day. Do I look that idle to you?" Yet when Aunt Ju wanted to feed me a chicken leg, he was the first to jump in. "No way. She's been suffering from internal heat lately. She can't eat anything too greasy." Before going out to play, he worried over me more than my own mother did. "I heard it might rain today, so you need to change into waterproof shoes. The temperature might drop suddenly too. Put on an extra cloak." She even combs my hair into beautiful buns. I looked up curiously and said, "Brother, did you learn to style hair for Liu Ruyan? Since you never got to use it on her, you're using it on me instead." Ju Jin's expression remained blank as I hit a nerve. Used to my sharp tongue by now, sometimes I wonder if, on the day your mother gave birth to you, she painted your mouth with cinnabar poison. "No, she didn't. Mother would only kiss me, saying my little girl is so beautiful, but my mother has been overwhelmed by learning accounting recently. Every night I can hear her wailing in despair. Why do I have to learn at my age?" Uncle Ju couldn't bear it anymore and discussed with Aunt Ju. "She just isn't suited for this. Why not let her stop?" Aunt Ju remained unmoved. "Absolutely not. If she doesn't learn anything, how will she ever stand on her own in this world? Being slow-witted means you just need to learn slowly." I'm not bothered at all. Life seemed to have returned to calm. But that day when Uncle Ju and Aunt Ju were about to take us out for lunch, as soon as we stepped out the front door, I spotted a familiar man standing not far away. I was stunned, and so was my mother. Noticing that I had stopped, Ju Jin looked over. "What's wrong? Do you know that man?" Instinctively, I replied, "That's my father." The three from the Ju family suddenly widened their eyes in shock. "Aren't your father dead? You're back from the dead. Hurry, Fetch a Taoist priest. 9. The Jew family is in a frenzy. My father is nowhere to be seen under the tree, mother quickly said. Sisters, don't be afraid. Dao Dao misses her father and has mistaken someone. I nervously nodded in guilty agreement. After all, I told Aunt Ju and Uncle Ju that my father, Zhao Changju, was dead, but in reality, he is still alive. He simply divorced my mother and drove us out of the house, so, in my heart, he is as good as dead. I changed my surname to my mother's name because I thought his family name was unlucky. Uncle Ju didn't know the truth and looked heartbroken. From now on, I'll be your godfather. I can't believe I raised a son, yet can't raise a daughter. Aunt Ju and Ju Jin also felt deeply sorry for me, buying me all sorts of wonderful items, funny little trinkets to cheer me up. The kinder they were, the more guilty I felt. I'm truly despicable. I actually deceived such a good person. Mother noticed I was troubled and quietly told me, once your cousin's condition stabilizes, we'll leave. Keep these things safe. You'll return them to the Marquis's mansion later. Your daughter has learned accounting to a decent level now. She can support you just fine. I grunted in reply, reluctant to leave but having no choice after all. I lied. It's better to leave on my own than to be kicked out as a fraud. The first news to arrive was about Liu Ruyan's marriage. It was said that her husband's family had provided the dowry and arranged for her to marry with great ceremony, and even sent an invitation to the Marquis's mansion. I found out about this from Aunt Ju. She was uncertain whether to give the invitation to Ju Jin. Ajin has finally stopped being so downcast and has become more talkative. I'm worried that he might be hit hard by this and his condition could worsen. I believe my brother can make it through. After being stabbed in the heart so many days, he's become so strong already. Perfect. This is also a chance to test whether Ju Jin has truly let go of Liu Ruyan. I delivered the wedding invitation. Ju Jin said nothing, as usual, feeding me and playing with me, but on the day Liu Ruyan got married, Ju Jin vanished. Remembering the address, I hurried to Li's mansion. The ceremony had just ended. Ju Jin stood in the corner, quietly sipping wedding wine. Seeing me arrive, he wasn't surprised, and his eyes crinkled slightly at the corners. He picked me up, gently wiping my tears and sweat, running and sweating profusely. You don't actually think your brother came to steal you, do you? Liu Ruxian has already made her choice. How could I possibly linger over her? I'm just here to see her off one last time, my brother. I can take things in hand and let them go easily. I reached out and poked his moist eyelid. Still stubborn. Big brother. Ju Jin froze. He awkwardly turned his head aside. He secretly wiped away his tears with his hand. I kept my mouth shut. Let him play the fool for a while. How pitiful. Suddenly, sinister whispers and sneers came from beside him. Liu Ruyan would do anything to climb the social ladder. Even Li family's only son, a cripple, she'd take him. Having someone else perform the wedding ceremony, what's the difference from humiliation? She doesn't get angry, even smiles and enters the bridal chamber. She's really disgusting. I leaned forward. If you shake your heads, will your ears slap your own faces, instead of meddling in other people's business? You should worry more about the pig that'll be slaughtered when the festival comes. The other party instantly turned dark-faced. Ju Jin, no longer crying, quickly covered my mouth and ran off with me. I'm afraid those people will catch up and beat me on the way home. He asked me, why did you defend Liu Ruyan? Maybe her life isn't easy either. Ju Jin laughed and ruffled my hair. He had expected the man to be despondent for a few days, struggling to come to terms with the fact that his beloved had married someone else, but that didn't happen. Ju Jin didn't know what had gotten into him all of a sudden, but he thought of it. Dao Dao is already 8 years old. She should start going to school. Tomorrow, you'll go to the academy with your older brother. At your age, starting school is considered late. From now on, after you come home every day, I'll tutor you. Me, why does a little kid like me have to study? Ju Jin meant what she said. I didn't want to go to school, but he forcibly carried me there. At home, he'd quiz me on the characters I learned during the day at any time. Even while feeding me, he wouldn't forget to make me recite poetry, 1 bite for every correct line. I suspect he's taking revenge on me, but Uncle Ju, Aunt Ju, and even my mother all thought this was a good thing. Better to be well educated, then you won't be fooled later in life. From then on, every night's wailing included not only my mother, but me as well. Still, Ju Jin occasionally would think about Liu Ruyan. What should I do? Dao Dao, I still can't forget her. I was full of resentment and my words grew even sharper. What? Did she cast a spell on you? Should I call a Taoist priest to exorcise it for you? You know, if you hadn't mentioned the Taoist priest, I would have forgotten. There was a master who once said I'd have a grand romance in this lifetime. That must be where someone pushed over the graveyard and built a toilet over it. Ju Jin completely gave up, no longer asking me those questions. Hard as the study life was, my unlucky father suddenly showed up again. Ju Jin's condition had improved significantly. My mother and I went out to buy some gifts for the Ju family, as a farewell present, but my father, Zhao Changju, seized the opportunity to block our way, pouring out his heartfelt emotions. Yua, do you know how long I've waited for you to come out? How could you bring your daughter to the Marquis's mansion? I didn't want to acknowledge you guys last time, but I didn't want too many outsiders to know our private matters. I thought Xiao Ru was the one who understood me best, but after you left, she revealed her true colors. She was after my money. I've already sent her away. Will you and our daughter come home? The girl called Xiao Ru in Zhao Changzhou's mouth was the tea seller. My mother was very clear-minded. What's the point of going back? To wait for your second Xiao? You were the one who left me in the first place, and we agreed to go our separate ways from then on. Please don't come bother our lives as a mother and daughter anymore. With those words, mother took my hand and walked away. But Zhao Zhongju wouldn't give up. He kept guarding outside the Marquis's mansion. Whenever my mother goes out, she can always see him. Yua, this is your favorite lotus flower pastry. I got up early and stood in line just for you. Eat it while it's warm. You've always said you wanted a new golden hairpin. I've already had one made for you. Take a look and see if you like it. My mother refuses to accept it, avoiding him as if he were a snake or a scorpion. Zhao Changju sighed. Yua, why are you avoiding me? With a daughter who's 8 years old, even if you try to start a new life elsewhere, you'd only be able to become a concubine for an older man. Why not come back and live with me? Her mother laughed, exasperated. Living with me day in and day out. She's even picked up my way of speaking. Who says a woman must remarry after being divorced? I have hands and feet. I can support myself. As for you, who do you think you are? You're not even good enough for a ghost marriage. Zhao Changju turned pale. But he didn't have the nerve to shame himself. Since he couldn't get through to my mother, he came to me pretending to be a loving father. Dao Dao, don't you want to return to your father's side and reunite with your family? Persuade your mother to come back. I frowned. Can you please stop walking around naked, grinding the mill in circles and making a fool of yourself? Didn't you forget? You and I have already severed all ties. You're not my father. My mother was divorced mainly because of me. After Zhao Changju brought Xiao Chue back to the mansion, he seized my mother's main courtyard and also stole her most treasured fabric. Xiao Ru came to boast in front of me, saying she'd soon be able to kick us out. I couldn't bear to see my mother humiliated. I didn't even bother scolding her. I grabbed a broom and chased her, beating her all the way. I didn't overlook Zhao Changju passing by either. Whoever bullies my mother shall die, but I'm ultimately just a child. My strength no match for adults. Zhao Changju snatched my broom away and slapped me across the face, cutting off our father-daughter ties. After my mother found out, she stopped crying and wanted to fight Zhao Changju to the death. As a result, both of us were thrown out together with no money and nowhere to go. My mother had no choice but to humble herself, pleading humbly for someone to give me a bite to eat. I will never forget the way my mother looked. Groveling and begging. Smack. I jumped up and slapped Zhao Changju across the face. Go to hell. My mother will spend her whole life with me and never live with you again. After slapping him, I ran straight into the Hu residence, leaving Zhao Changju furious with nowhere to vent his anger. Go back and share this with mother. She rubbed my head, saying, Dao Dao, you're so great. But it's not good that Zhao Changju keeps bothering me like this. What if the elder sisters find out? Let's leave in a couple of days, when the weather gets a bit warmer. I promised my mother, but plans can't keep up with changes. Zhao Changju was too wicked. He somehow found out that my mother and I were staying at the Marquis's residence to treat Ju Jin's illness, and the next day he came to expose me. Lord Hu, Madam Hu, you've been deceived by them. They don't actually possess medical skills and can't save the young master. 11 Aunt Ju, Uncle Ju, and Ju Jin stared at Zhao Changju, but said nothing. Cold sweat broke out on my hands and my mother's hands. Zhao Changju was still speaking. Suyu recently had a quarrel with me and ran away from home, with nowhere else to go. She impersonated a famous physician and entered though she is my wife, I cannot stand by and watch her deceive people. That is why I had no choice but to come here and reveal the truth. I respectfully request that your excellency and lady who allow me to take them back home to deal with as I see fit." As he finished speaking, Zhao Changju stepped closer to my mother and murmured softly, "Don't blame me, Yu, if you won't return home, I have no other choice." My mother was so angry her face turned red. "You're utterly shameless, sir and madam. We were wrong to deceive you. We accept any punishment, but I absolutely will not leave with him. I only beg you to spare my daughter." Mother was just about to kneel down. Bang! Uncle Ju suddenly pulled out a stick from nowhere and struck Zhao Changju hard. "What, running away from home? Do you think I don't know you abandoned your wife and child? You can even discard your beloved wife. I despise people like you the most. I'm too tired to expose you. You're still putting on a show." "Phut!" Aunt Ju fiercely slapped his face. "What kind of thing dares to bully my sister? I'll smash your mouth." Ju Jin seized the chance, kicking Zhao Changju while muttering, "You dared to bully my little sister and my Aunt Su. I'll beat you to death." My mother and I were stunned. What on earth is going on? Why do they hate Zhao Changju more than we do? In the end, Zhao Changju was thrown out of the mansion half dead. When my mother and I hesitated over who should go ask, Ju Auntie spoke up first. "Actually, the moment Dao Dao saw Zhao Changju, we immediately sent someone to investigate. I was worried about vengeful spirits clinging to you, but it turned out to be a living person who wronged you. But since you didn't mention it, we didn't dare ask. You've suffered so much, my dear girl, encountering such a worthless person." Aunt Ju tenderly embraced Mother. Ju Shu said beside me, "Don't worry, just stay here. I don't believe even a merchant can outmatch the Marquis's mansion." I couldn't help but ask, "But we lied, aren't you angry?" Ju Jin smiled, lightly pinching my cheek. "What's that compared to trickery? If my father did such a thing, bullying my mother, he'd be dead in my heart. Don't even think about leaving. The Hu mansion is your home. Your brother's illness won't get better without you. So you never lied to us at all." I froze. I finally realized. My brother had noticed everything all along. Buried myself in Ju Jin's arms, secretly wiping away my tears. My new home with Mom is really nice, but Uncle Ju was stubborn and still couldn't accept letting Zhao Changju off easily, so he took all of Zhao's money and gave it to Mom. It's his fault. He has no right to live comfortably. He must properly compensate you. My daughter was taken aback. "This is too much," Uncle Ju glared. "It's for the child. Don't you dare hesitate." 12 later, I never saw Zhao Changju again. I did hear about his current situation from someone else. Now poor and injured, unable to earn a living, he can only beg for food everywhere, deservedly so. As for my mother, she has finally learned how to keep accounts with Zhao Changju's money. I opened a pawn shop. My beautiful and delicate mother no longer needs to cry, pout, or call me big brother to support me. She also bought a courtyard house. It's right next to the Hu mansion, making it convenient for the two families to visit each other. So Ju Jin came to supervise my studying every single day. "Come on, brother, let me test you." I turned around and ran away. "Mother, help, my cousin is forcing a child to study. It's terrifying." The end.